Welcome to Impacting Jamaica, where we shine the spotlight on the many but often ignored positive happenings, activities, projects and investments at every level across every sector to inspire, motivate and excite people everywhere.
You touch on being spiritual and not being religious, and I know a big part of your life has been the Rastafarian movement. If you can touch on that a bit and how you found Rastafari and what that whole era was like for you.
Well, so I'm living in England, and my mother and my father kind of want me to be a good Christian and be well behaved, and they are investing everything in the Bible and in Christian way of life. And it's not that it's just Christian, it's a very European idea of Christian. I suggested once to my mother that, you know, Jesus could have been black, and she was horrified. She was absolutely horrified. And this is a black woman, you know? And I knew the Bible very well. To this day, I have an obsession with the Bible, but an obsession that a lot of people find a little bit irritating, because I'm interested in how it got put together. When was this written? When was that written? What language were they written in? Where the Gospels come from? I love reading the Gospels that didn't make it in the Bible. They are fascinating. Jesus as a child playing with kids. It's fascinating stuff. It's what I read every day. If I didn't do what I do, when I say this, people say there's still time. I would have gone to university and studied theology. I'm fascinated with it. Mm-hmm. But so anyway, so I'm growing up. My parents wanted me to be one way, and it's difficult because I don't really want to do exactly what they say. But I still believe that one must have a kind of spiritual aspect to them. To be honest, I mean, it came via the music. My hero, my musical hero was Big Youth. And my kind of poetic hero was Bob Marley. And I say that because, I mean, I loved Bob Marley a long time before he really got really popular. When I liked him as a young dread in Birmingham, he wasn't that much liked by the people around me. Mm. They was more into the rootsy thing. They saw Bob Marley as very commercial. But I used to listen to his words, you know, this morning I woke up in a curfew. Oh God, I was a prisoner too. Could not recognize the faces standing over me, all dressed in uniforms of brutality. How many rivers do we have to cross till we can talk to the boss? That's poetry. You don't need the music. Mm. So that's why I say he was like my poetic hero. Big Youth now was the dreadlocks dread down in the house of dread. In Birmingham, we actually had a place called the House of Dread. It was 3 houses that we knocked together, and we just lived in there, and we shared food. It was like a commune. We had bicycles. We didn't really use money unless we really had to, you know. And what were we trying to do? Well, we were all trying to, and this really applies to me, to have a sense of spirituality, to have some community, but to also be political and understand the reality of what we were living in, you know. It really frustrated me when people said, oh, you know, I don't deal with politics. So, you know, I mean, a very famous Jamaican poet who's no longer with us once said, and I'm just trying to remember her name, it'll come to me. But she said, if you don't deal with politics, politics will deal with you. Mm. You know? And I loved, there was an interview with Bob Marley where they asked him about why his music is so political, and he just didn't understand the question. He said, you know, it's not politics, just my reality. I'm just dealing with my reality. So that's what I wanted to do, like deal with the reality. If you want to call it politics. But I wanted to stop policemen hunting me down and picking me up because of the colour of my skin. I wanted to deal with the National Front and the racists who, for our listeners abroad, is kind of like an English version of the Ku Klux Klan. And the way we were housing and the conditions we lived in. But at the same time, I wanted to be spiritual. So to be spiritual and political, Rastafari did that for me. It brought all those things together. So that was it for me. And like I said, in Birmingham, we had this very strong sense of a Rasta community there. I mean, when Steel Pulse made the record, Handwork Revolution, it was very apt because it said a lot about handwork in that time. It was a very revolutionary place. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did your parents make of you finding Rastafari? You mentioned saying to your mum one day, you know, Jesus could be black, and she was horrified. I mean, what did they think of you, you know, taking a new spiritual and cultural path?
I think at first they thought it would be like a phase I was going through. I mean, I think they felt that when I stopped eating meat too. But then they saw I was really serious. Now, I think it hit my mother when, I mean, my mother is somebody that, you know, walks around hugging the Bible. And it hit her when she realized that I knew the Bible inside out more than her. I literally used to go to competitions and people would just name a chapter of the Bible and I would just say it off the top of my head. I learned the Bible the way that Muslims learn the Quran. I used to be able to just quote it, chapter and verse. And so she realized it was something serious. Now, around the same time, things did start to go wrong for me in one sense, that I started to get a little bit angry with society and the police were picking me up all the time. So, you know, I got in trouble with the police. And, you know, I wanted to do good, but the society around me and the circumstances were pulling me to do bad. But having said that, there's so many of my friends that didn't make it out. I mean, they literally are dead. And my mother saw that, you know, my poetry, call it my faith if you like, call it my beliefs, actually grounded me. They made me survive.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Impacting Jamaica. If you or anyone you know is involved with projects and activities that excite, motivate, and encourage, send us an email to impactingjamaica@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Do join us again for another in the series on Google Podcast, Audible, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Stitcher. You can also visit us at impactingjamaica.com.